So just been asked a few questions for the Q&A today. So the first one was about what to look at for bilateral hip impingement in a professional football player. Now, to answer this properly, really I need is history and a bit more information from the assessment to make a good judgment, because at the end of the day, that hip impingement is just a symptom. But what I'll be considering definitely if it's bilateral is the posterior pelvic floor. And if it's the posterior pelvic floor, I want to look at that relationship with the diaphragm. So now, rather than just looking at the hip, I'm going to be looking at that person's rib cage mobility. Are they able to fully depress and retract the rib cage? Is the diaphragm able to go through a full range of motion? Because if the diaphragm can go through a full range of motion, or if it can't go through a full range of motion, I should say, it's unlikely that pelvic floor is going to be able to go through a full range of motion either. And if you've got restriction in the pelvic floor, it's going to restrict the hip range of motion bilateral. Obviously, adductors, posterior hip capsule, ankles, things like that, I'm going to need the injury history to give a better answer for that question. So another question I was asked today was, do we do a lot of hands-on treatment? And it's a good question, that, and definitely I do a lot of hands-on treatment. I know Dave does a lot of hands-on treatment, but the hands-on treatment is very directed hands-on, and the hands-on is very much to complement a graded exposure plan. So it's to help us get to the next stage of loading quicker, basically. So, and in our experience and in our opinion, we can use our hands-on to accelerate that a little bit more. And again, there's a lot of theory behind what we're trying to do with the hands-on. We're not necessarily trying to release tissue. We're very interested in myotendinous junctions for our hands-on, very interested in stimulating those Golgi tendon organs, desensitizing the tissues around there. So it's not just like massage that we'd be considering. And if that's working, there might be some other reasons why it's working that we'd definitely be thinking about as well. But the short answer to that question is yes, I use the hands-on and Dave used the hands-on to get to the next stage of loading. So another question that I was asked was key metrics before you let a player go back running or a patient go back running. So obviously this is going to vary a little bit patient to patient, but one of the most important steps that we use is hopping. So if we look at the research and we look at the rate of force development, if we can get someone doing consecutive hops over like 10-15 meters at pace, that rate of force development is very, very similar to sprinting. So if we can get them tolerating that, and then we go to a tempo at 40%, we've kind of ruled out that the pain's going to come back, or at least given us the best chance. The only difference with the tempos now is the speed's a little bit faster in terms of turnover the legs, etc. Obviously, you're going to build up to those consecutive hops. So we do a lot of elastic lunging, so not like a traditional lunge. What I'm really interested in is the ability to co-contract at the knee. Then we'll go to leaps, hops, consecutive hops, etc. And like I said, there's a lot of things that we're looking at as we go through those progressions to make sure that the patient's going to be okay with those.